Hi everyone, welcome to today's live. I'm so happy that you could all join us today for this application Q&A. My name's Jill and I'm a liaison officer here at Western University. So before we get started today, I just wanted to start with a brief land acknowledgement. So while all of you may be joining us from all over the world, tonight I'm here in London, Ontario, where Western's campus is located. Our university campus is located on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, the Lenape, and the Chinungtung nations, and we are very grateful as an institution to be able to live, learn, and play on these lands. So many of you submitted questions to us, and I'm excited to answer all of those for you, but first I just want to go over some important points. First and foremost, everyone's situation is unique, and the answers to your question might depend on your educational background, where you live, or the specific program that you're applying to. So I'm going to do my best to answer everyone's specific questions today, but I also want to try and give some more general advice to try and help everyone. So if you do have more specific questions about your personal situation, after today, please get in touch with us by going to welcome.uwo.ca/message, and that way you can chat with us one-on-one to get a more specific answer. So related to that, I also want to just acknowledge that we want to protect everyone's privacy today. So please don't share your Western student number or any other personal information that you don't want everyone else seeing. Because remember, today we are live. We also want you to think carefully in general about any comments that you make on today's live. Your comments are public, and we ask that you stick to questions about applying to Western. All right. So now we all know what to expect. Let's get started with some of the questions that we had asked last night when we posted. So we'll start with the questions that some of you submitted in advance, but remember you can ask more questions during the live, and we'll try and answer those as we go. So today I'm going to discuss a variety of different admissions topics. We're going to cover admission requirements, applying on OUAC, receiving an offer, program choices, applying to Ivy Business School, as well as some finance and life at Western questions. All right, the first up question we have here today, this is regarding some admissions requirements. So a lot of you asked about supplementary forms, so first we're going to address that. For anyone unsure, supplementary forms are additional requirements that you submit after you apply to Western on OUAC. You often can't receive an offer until you submit this supplementary form if it's required for you. So related to that question, we have one here. What programs need supplemental forms and what are the due dates? You can find a full list of all of the supplementary forms at welcome.uwo.ca/forms. This webpage lists every form and its due date because remember, only specific programs require this form and they may have different due dates. So make sure you go to that website and find what you're interested in to see what your requirements are. For example here, if you're interested in music, visual arts, commercial aviation management, nursing, engineering, integrated science, maybe the School for Advanced Studies in Arts and Humanities, Scholars Elective, or Ivy, these are all programs that you need to submit a supplemental requirement for. Now, the Ivy AEO deadline is coming up. It's Wednesday, January 15th, but we'll talk a bit more about Ivy later in this live. The other deadlines for these programs and the supplemental forms are generally in February, March, or April. And like I said earlier, you can find all of these dates at welcome.uwo.ca/forms. Now, related to this question, our next one up is, what is the Casper test? So the Casper test is new to engineering this year, but it has been a required test for nursing students in the past few years. It's an online, open response, situational judgment test that takes about 90 to 110 minutes to complete. The Casper test really just gives us more information about you as a person. It measures different personal and professional skills that we at Western believe are important for successful students and graduates. It really complements the other tools that we use for applicant review and evaluation. So that's kind of what Casper is as an overview. Now we've covered supplemental forms, but now let's get into some of the questions we have about grades. So there are some really important factors in the admission process, and it's natural to have questions about this. So someone today asked, what are grade requirements for admissions? First of all, at Western, there's no cutoffs or minimums when it comes to grades. The averages depend on a couple factors, including the program that you're applying to. So you'll have to do some look into this, and you can get an idea of the averages last year by going to welcome.uwo.ca/requirements, and you select your current curriculum. This way you can find what the average was last year for the program that you're interested in applying to based on your current curriculum. All right, next question here. This is a popular one as well. So do we look at grade 11 grades when we're making admissions decisions? So when it comes to Ontario high school students, we make admissions decisions based on the grades we receive from the Ontario University Application Centre, or OUAC, prior to each offer round. So we'll look at the grades in your required courses for your program, plus we'll also consider your highest grade 12 grades at the time. This being said, we will consider your overall grade 11 performance, but let's say you didn't do super well in grade 11. That's not going to tank your application. It'll just maybe take a little bit longer to hear back because we'll wait for more of your grade 12 marks to base that application on. Okay, next question here. Does it matter if you repeat a course? So when it comes to that, if you have 2 repeats of a course, our admissions team will take the highest of the 2. Now, if you have 3 or more repeats of the same course, we're actually going to take the average of your attempts. So just again, if you do have a repeated course, if it's 2, we'll take the highest of the 2, but if you have more than 2, then we'll take the average of your 3 attempts. Okay, next question here. What are your thoughts on students who are taking a few courses from private schools or maybe part-time students at a day school? How does this affect their application or their acceptance? So in general, we accept these courses. It's your responsibility as the student to make sure that the courses you're taking are approved and accredited by the Ministry of Education. So your courses, really, they must meet the same level of rigor as a regular day school course, and they do need to be sent to us through OUAC. Next question here. How important are extracurricular activities in the admissions process? So when it comes to admissions at Western, your grades really are the most important aspect of your application. Now, we do have a form that you can submit that tells us all about your extracurricular experiences, and this could be useful for a student if they believe that their commitment to these activities has maybe negatively affected their academic performance. And sometimes extracurriculars may also be important in some of the supplemental requirements for your program that we mentioned earlier. So in these cases, extracurriculars can be important, but for the most part, grades are the most important aspect of your application at Western. So one additional requirement that some students may have to submit to us is the English language proficiency test. Now, this is only required if English isn't your first language. So a question we've gotten today is the English test a big requirement for the nursing program? And would I be able to still get into the program if I don't have enough time or if I do the test late? So the English language test is an important requirement. The minimum English scores for nursing students are higher than for some of our other undergraduate programs. So if we've asked you for your English test results, you won't be able to receive an offer to Western without those results being submitted. This year, we are actually accepting Duolingo English test results, which is a more affordable test option and it's easily accessible for our students. Okay, so we're on to our last question regarding admissions. So this student says, I came to Canada a year ago, and back in my country, our subjects used to be in pure English. In addition, I did grade 11 and 12 here in Canada. So is there a waiver that I can have to not do the English proficiency exam? So in this case, you can apply for a waiver to not do the English test by emailing welcome@uwo.ca. You can find all of the specific instructions at welcome.uwo.ca/English. So in these cases, we review the unique case and we will let you know whether or not you're eligible for that waiver. Okay, let's move on to part 2 of our agenda today, which is actually applying on OUAC, so applying on the Ontario University Application Centre. So our first question that we have here today, how soon can I start applying to university? So the answer to that is if you're in grade 12 now, applications for grade 12 students are open. The equal consideration deadline is February 15th, but we do encourage you to apply by mid-January just to give you enough time to gather all of your documents. You also want to be sure that you're checking deadlines for those supplementary applications, which I mentioned, and they all vary between January and April. Next question here. I've applied to 3 programs at Western and have received 2 early acceptances. Now I want to add another program, so can I decline an offer to make room for another program? The answer to this question is yes. You can choose a maximum of 3 programs in your application to Western. But if you want to add another choice, you just need to withdraw from one of the other 3 choices. Now, OUAC has plenty of how-to videos that can help guide you through that kind of adding or dropping process. So if that's something you're looking to do, definitely go to OUAC website and find their how-to videos. Now, that's all the questions that we received for applying on OUAC specifically. So now let's move into our questions that we received about offers. So the first question we have here, and actually our most popular question, is when can I expect to hear back from Western? So at Western, we give out offers on a rolling basis. They kind of go out in rounds, you can think of it. So our Ontario high school groups, the next round will be in February, and the final and largest round is in May. There's no benefit to hearing earlier in the rounds from someone else. Everyone who hears all the way up to May starts on an equal playing field. Now, for all other students, so non-Ontario high school students, you'll hear back about 2 to 8 weeks after we receive all of your documentation with an answer. Okay, next question. In the February admission round, will you consider final marks of semester 1 or just the midterm marks of semester 1 when considering applicants? So when we review your application, we review based on a combination of grade 11 and 12 grades that are available to us at the time of each offer round. This is also provided that your application is showing us enrollment in your prerequisite courses. So even if all your prereq courses are in semester 2, we need to see that you're enrolled in them so that we could give you a conditional offer. We will also consider your overall grade 11 performance when we're making our admissions decisions. So if we have a big enough picture based on that, you could hear sooner in the rounds. But if we want to wait for more of your grade 12 courses, you might just hear a little bit later in the rounds. Okay, so we're now moving on to topic number 4 of the questions that we received. And this is all about programs. So our first question today is, why can't I apply to the major I want to right out of high school? So at Western, you have what's called a common first year. And in this common first year, you get to take a variety of different courses before you officially pick something to specialize or major in ahead of your second year. You can still choose the major you want, but you might find something else that you love along the way. So having this first year is really important to explore different things and find what really interests you. Now, on the other hand, if you're applying to a program like nursing, music, or engineering, the courses you take are actually chosen for you. So you aren't necessarily choosing your major, that's already your distinction there. So you don't have as much of a common first year, you're starting right away. Next question we have, what is the difference between health science and medical science? Now this is a popular question for us. So health science at Western focuses on the big picture questions that surround our society's health. It really takes an interdisciplinary approach to tackling the major problems that we're facing when it comes to all aspects of health and healthcare in our society. Now, medical sciences at Western, on the other hand, focuses on studying the human body at a cellular level. So really understanding what happens with diseases and how we can use this information to come up with new treatments. Now, while both the medical science and the health science pathways are wonderful programs, they're both also excellent pathways to medical school post-graduation. Now, it's also important to note that you can pursue any undergraduate degree and then apply to medical school. There's no required degree you need to apply to medical school, although both of the programs I just mentioned are wonderful pathways. Moving on to our next question. What is the difference between the Western site and the Fanshawe site when it comes to the Western Fanshawe collaborative nursing programs? So these two programs are the exact same. The only difference between them is where you're located during your first 2 years of study. So some students will be at Western for all 4 years, while other students will study their first 2 years at Fanshawe College in London and then spend their last 2 years at Western's campus. You take the exact same classes and you earn the exact same degree and qualifications regardless of the location. So if you're at the Fanshawe site, you will also be eligible for residence at Fanshawe in those first years there. Next question, what psychology programs does Western have? Western actually offers both a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Science in Psychology. So both programs fall within our Faculty of Social Science when you're applying. Now, For Ontario high school students, you need grade 12 English in order to receive admissions to the Faculty of Social Science. But when it comes to psychology, the Bachelor of Science, it's also recommended that you take a grade 12 math, as well as a biology, chemistry, or physics in grade 12, just to help prepare you for those upper years statistics or kind of more science-focused classes that would come along with the Bachelor of Science Psychology. Moving on to our next question. How do I apply to a program with co-op? So at Western, you actually don't need to apply to a program with co-op the way that you do at some other institutions. Every faculty at Western offers co-ops, internships, practicums that students can pursue. So the way it works is when you start in your first year, you can meet with a member of our experiential learning team, and then they will help you explore all of the options available to you once you become a Western student, and that includes co-op. Next question. What is the difference between BMOS and Ivy? So Dan Management Organizational Studies, otherwise known as BMOS for short, is Western's 4-year business program. It takes more of an evidence-based approach to the human side of the business world. So in this program, you explore specialties like accounting, finance, human resources, and it takes more of an interdisciplinary perspective. Now, the HBA program that's part of our Ivy Business School is a 2-year program that starts in your 3rd year of university. So at Ivy, you don't specialize in one particular area, and there's an emphasis on the elements of leadership. Ivy also only teaches using the case study method, so all of your learning is done by solving real-world business problems with your peers and professors. Now, speaking of Ivy, let's move on to our 5th topic of today's live, which is Ivy. So the first question we received is, do I complete the Ivy AEO supplementary application before getting accepted to Western or after? So applying for Ivy AEO is a 2-step process that involves 2 separate applications. Your first is your application to Western. So you apply for admissions to either Western, King's at Huron, or through that, you apply through OUAC, which is the Ontario University Application Centre. So first and foremost, you get that Western application done. Then you move on to the second part, which is your Ivy application. The application for the Advanced Entry Opportunity at Ivy is a conditional pre-admission to the Ivy HBA program. You directly apply on the Ivy website. The deadline for the AEO application this year is January 15th. You'll always receive an offer for Western or one of our affiliates before you hear from Ivy, because an AEO is a conditional offer on you receiving an offer from Western. Next question. What does the Ivy application actually look like, and can I start Ivy in my first year? So the application to Ivy consists of a 1-way video interview and 2 500-word essays. So in the essays, you're going to write about your top 2 extracurricular experiences, and then your grades and your extracurriculars activities will be weighted 50-50 during the admissions process to Ivy. If you receive the AEO status, you'll be able to start Ivy in your 3rd year. Now this is conditional on you maintaining an 80% average, 78% if you're in engineering, taking the pre-required business course in your 2nd year, and maintaining a commitment to leadership and extracurriculars. Okay, now that we've covered those basics, let's dive into some extra questions that we received that relate a few to finance and a few to life at Western. So let's start with a finance question we received. How do I find what my tuition cost is? So you can find estimated tuition fees at welcome.uwo.ca/finances. And actually, once you receive an offer from Western, you'll find a tuition fee calculator located in your Choose Western offer portal, so you can get a really good idea of what your tuition costs will be before you start as a student. Next up, we have a scholarship question. So how do I apply for scholarships, and when is the deadline? So Western has a lot of scholarship options, and it would be impossible for me to cover each and every one of those today. But there's a lot of different automatic admission scholarships for both our Canadian and our international students, and you don't need to apply for these automatic admission scholarships. Once we have your final grade average, we will look at that and slot it into the different scholarships, and it will be automatically taken off your tuition. Now, some of our other more higher scholarships do require applications. These include scholarships like our National Scholar Program, which the application and the school nomination is actually due February 14th. We also then have awards for Canadian, international, Black students as well as arts and humanities students. We have our Schulich Leader Scholarship. We also have a plethora of external scholarships that our students can apply for. We have STEM-focused scholarships. Those applications are due at the end of January. And for more details and to find a more in-depth review of all of our scholarships, please welcome.uwo.ca/finances has all of the information you need. Now we have another scholarship question that just came in. Are there any scholarships available to students that might not have the best grade average? Specifically, are there any merit or need-based scholarships that are offered to students who maybe their academic life has been affected by some external factors? So Western has a variety of bursary programs for students. We have over $2.4 million allocated to bursaries every single year. You can find more information at welcome.uwo.ca/finances. You could also feel free to email or book an appointment with one of our financial aid officers who can help you navigate the different bursaries and applications. We also always encourage our students to fill out the special consideration profile at welcome.uwo.ca/forms for some different admissions considerations. So our last finance question for today. Do you advise gap years? Because at the time the student is saying, I don't have the funds for college and I can't afford to take out student loans at this time. So in this case, you have a few options. First and foremost, you can always apply to defer your studies for 1 year in order to save up and prepare. We understand that university is a big investment and we want to help you achieve that. So our second option there, I would encourage you to message westernchat.uwo.ca. This way, you can speak directly to a financial aid officer who can help you navigate the different options, the different scholarships and bursaries available to you, so you can make an educated choice on whether you defer or proceed in that first year. Also, if you are in Ontario, there's a plethora of OSAP student loans, as well as bursaries from the government and student financial aid for our students in financial need. So now we're at the last topic of our live, which is a few questions that we've received about life at Western. So these are some of the more fun questions. So our first question is, what are some go-to items to bring to university? Now, I think this is a great question. I graduated from Western 2 years ago, so I still remember it quite vividly about those go-to items. And everyone will have a different answer when it comes to this question, but for me, my go-to items would always be shower shoes, a power bar, headphones, and then a warm winter coat and some real winter boots for the cold winter months, because we do get a fair bit of snow here in London. Our next Western Life question, what are ways that I can get involved on campus? So this is another question that I absolutely love. At Western, we actually have over 200 student clubs, over 20 intramural sports, and countless other ways to get involved, like maybe that's joining student council, joining the Western Gazette, or even maybe you'd rather get involved in some lower commitment things like attending our concerts. We have poetry slams, there's even trivia nights at our on-campus cafe. So my advice to you would be look for what interests you or what you want to expand your network in, and then run with that. So time for our last question of the live, and a very popular one. What are the different styles of residence? What's the application process to residence, and what does residence at Western cost? So at Western, we have 12 different resident buildings, and they come in 3 different styles. So the 3 styles are traditional, hybrid, and suite. Traditional style is what you probably think of when you think of a university residence. It's typically you and a roommate, and then you're on a floor with a shared washroom. Now, suite style is more like an apartment. Everyone gets their own room within the unit. There's a kitchen, a living space, and then shared washroom within the unit. Now, hybrid style, our third style, is a combination of the two. So you have more privacy of a washroom within the unit, but you still usually have a roommate, and there's no kitchen. So those are the 3 different styles that you can take a look at. There's a lot more information on housing.uwo.ca, where you can find a lot more information, take some virtual tours of the residence, and find which style you might prefer. Now, any offer of admission that is issued to you by the end of May will come with an offer to residence. So to secure your spot in residence, what you need to do is submit your residence deposit and your questionnaire by June 4th. Now, spots in residence are guaranteed to our first-year students at Western who are coming to us directly out of high school, meet these deadlines, and are under the age of 21 and not married. Now, depending on the style of residence, the costs can vary. I would recommend going to housing.uwo.ca to find the specific housing costs because they do differ based on the building. Okay, so that was officially the last question that we received tonight. Thank you all so much for attending today's live. I hope that you're feeling more confident as you enter this application season. Be sure to follow us if you haven't already to stay in touch, maybe ask us some more questions. And if we haven't been able to answer your question tonight, because we had lots coming through, don't worry. Please go to welcome.uwo.ca/message, and then you can message us online, or you can book a one-on-one Zoom appointment with either myself or a member of our team. We're always happy to help and answer those questions. So I wish everyone the best of luck with your application. Bye for now.